What's up, Mom Nation? It's me, it's Katie. We are back with our monthly awesome episode of Mental Wealth. I am here with the lovely, the fantastic Laura Wood. And we're going to be talking about some stuff today, huh, Laura?
Yeah, some good stuff.
Good stuff.
Meaty, important family stuff.
Like usual.
The usual, and I don't know. So, and I know we were just talking, Katie, and I didn't mention this, but like this has been on my mind. Can I just take like 2 seconds to like share a thing that's been stressing me out?
Please.
So I feel like it's stressing the whole entire world out, right? But like basically just the news. So I'm not even going to go into specifics, but like, what we're talking, like everybody, there's a news for somebody that somebody's freaking out about, right? Like there's about 10 different things going on right now that I can think of that are stressing me out. And I've been hearing a lot of stress from my kid clients about it.
Really?
Yeah. And so I've just been having I've had a couple of really tough ones, and I wanted to just kind of talk about that a little bit. Like, we don't really think about that with our kids, and a lot of teenagers too, right? But like, because I work with kids and teens, and I've had some tough ones, like kids and teens who are just like, the state of the world is like, it's just like, they're hopeless. They're like, why, right?
Oh, no.
Because it's just somebody, no matter where you land on any of the top 5 issues right now,
right,
you're either devastated or like so angry or whatever. There's something, right? Mm-hmm. And so I want to just take a second to kind of encourage all of us to like check in with our kids and say like, hey, it's been a lot of stuff, lately. And I wondered how you're doing. And just let them be how they are. Because what's hard is kids have the right to have a different side than their parents have.
Agreed.
And one thing that's been really hard for the kids, because they're so stressed out, but they don't feel like they have anywhere to go. They can't talk about it. So they just sit in it by themselves because they don't want to have like a crazy blow up if they disagree, or if they have a different opinion, or if they ask a lot of questions, or if they're like, I think a lot of kids are really not sure where they even fit in, and they're really stressed and feeling like a lot of the kids that I'm working with lately are feeling really alone because parents are so stressed out.
And now, are they getting this information from the media? Or are they getting it from their parents? Or is it like a mixture of the two? Who knows what?
I mean, a mixture, right? Same way we all do. For them, it's TikTok, but like Twitter, they're on Twitter, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. They're not on Facebook. They make sure they know
they're not here.
Yeah, they make sure I know that they're not on Facebook. But yeah, like just they get it, they hear it. They're in the car with their parents driving places. They're hearing the news. It's out there, and it's not even just. I mean, I think I really want to make it clear. Like, I'm not just talking about one thing, one issue. I'm talking about the whole, I think, stress factory that has been the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's just been multiplying.
Month. Yeah. And I think this month there's been a lot of different things that came out, and a lot of things that are not, but that cause people to disagree, and I just think it's really important that we give our kids the space to express their concerns, their fears, and remind them that we are the lifeboat.
But like, all right, so we're digging into this, Laura. Next topic is for next time. We're digging into this.
I
No,
just,
because I feel you're passionate about it and I'm concerned about it. I have an 8-year-old and we don't really have, he hears dad and I talk. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh shoot, like he hears dad and I talk. And so he probably hears, because we have our own thoughts and emotions about everything that's been going on over the last couple of years. And I feel bad because it never occurred to me to be like, hey bro, you hear dad and I talk. Do you have any questions about the things that we talk about? Because he's like, playing Legos and we're doing dishes or something. And I'm not really sort of thinking necessarily about the conversation that's happening, and he might be in earshot, and and who knows what's being said at school. And oh my goodness, this is huge. I'm so glad that you brought it up, because I think that there's probably a lot of moms out there that can relate to this. Certainly a lot of kids, certainly something you've been seeing. So
yeah. And honestly, like, I wouldn't know how much kids are, like, since I've been working with kids the past few years, like teens too, right? Like this isn't just little kids. This is like anywhere from, I think my youngest client is like 6. My teens are all the way up to like 18 or whatever. And everywhere in between. Most of my clients are honestly like 14. Everybody's in middle school. 8th grade was the worst. Am I right?
It was for me.
Oh yeah,
I get it.
Was for everybody. That's like my entire client population. But anyway, so I wouldn't even know how much this stuff weighs on our children's minds, and how much our stress about it and our like disbelief, our fears, our concerns, our belief that whoever on the other side of us is wrong enough to be very, very worried about the state of things, right? Mm-hmm. No matter where you land, those are the way you feel.
Yeah.
And our kids are like, whoa, like I'm concerned, like our kids are looking at us feeling like the world is on fire. And they're like, who's in charge here? Like, where's my lifeboat?
Where's my safety? And I was just going to say that, like, obviously we're not touching on very specifics, but there's some things that have recently happened that would cause me to feel very unsafe if I was a child.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do.
Yeah.
And they do. And they don't know what to believe. They don't know they don't have anyone to talk to, because it's grown-up stuff usually. So we kind of just are like, oh, it's just, whatever. We sort of brush it off. We don't think about it. We don't realize. But there's a lot of like, the best thing we can do for our kids is ask them how they're doing. Just literally like, hey there, child, I know that things have been crazy lately. How are you? What's going on with you? Like, just tell me about your thoughts and your feelings. And I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to evaluate whether or not they're accurate. I'm not going to, this isn't a teaching moment. This is a just being there moment. There's more teaching moments too. Those can be at different moments, but have more being there moments, engaging and existing without correcting, evaluating.
And we probably should be doing that anyway, even
well, sure,
without things going on. But so let me ask you this. So I find that my son likes the things we like. And he,
totally.
You know what I mean? Like how am I trying to say? I don't want to say that it's not something we force him to do by any means, but he believes what we believe.
Sure. Why not?
And so how should I'm trying to formulate this question appropriately. As they get older, and as parents, we want to give our child the resources, the strength, and the support to become their own people. Like, I personally don't need my kid to believe what I believe. He just naturally kind of does that. He's 8.
Right. Because he's 8.
Right. So how would you suggest as years progress, how can a parent still have their own thoughts, feelings, and, still be true to themselves, but encourage their child now to have their own opinions and dig into this stuff and gain their own insight by doing their own research? Because I think that's so valuable to teach them as adults.
Yeah.
Like, don't just believe what I say. Don't just headline read and believe, what's actually written in the article is reflected appropriately in the headline, because how often does that happen?
Yeah.
Like, dig into things. How do you encourage that?
I think that's a tough one. And honestly, I think it starts with accepting that they're going to think differently than you. Because the statement, I don't need my child to believe what I believe, is not often true. I mean, if I really think, if I'm like, okay, let me like put my objectivity hat on. Do I need my children to believe what I believe? Right? Like, that's a tough one.
Yeah. There's probably some basics in there that
there's some assumptions that we're making, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's where it gets really tricky. And so that's where we learn how to exist together and differently. And we have to recognize, like, you know what? It is okay for my child not to believe what I believe. And we get there by recognizing that they're an individual human person. They're separate from us. They're a separate organism, right? Like, we took the succulent leaf and we left it in the dirt, and then now it's a whole nother plant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We propagate our succulents. It's a whole other plant, right? Like, I listened to this podcast called Morbid, and they say, like, that's your whole ass child. It's a whole ass person. And that's what's hard. So because biology dictates that we recognize our children as part of our own nervous system, right? Like, so we have to do that. But then also we have to recognize them as an individual nervous system. Like, welcome to the most complex, the single most complex role on planet Earth is a human mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I right?
Preach.
Right. Like, honestly, I mean, it just really is, because biology is telling us that we have to care for this person as if they're ourselves, as if our life depends on it. But then it also says it also says our life doesn't depend on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if they're not what we thought they would be, that doesn't mean they're not okay. And that doesn't mean you're not okay. And whether or not we accept our children for what they believe and who they are says more about us than it says about them. And that's a second by second assessment of your own capacity every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's damn hard.
It's damn hard. Damn hard.
Yeah.
But then, all right. So things change, right? Because I think back to my childhood and I'm like, okay, when I was my kid's age, I'm sure there were things happening in the world. There were certainly things happening in my life that I didn't understand, with my immediate parents, my immediate family, and sort of my situation. And I thought I understood things, but now I think back with my 43-year-old brain and I'm like, no, girl, you couldn't connect the dots if your life depended on it back then. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So like things change. So we could be, I feel like age appropriate, I guess, is where I'm going.
Yeah.
So age appropriate, like supporting them to being their own people at 8 years old probably looks different than it does at 18, probably looks different than it does when they're 30 and they have their own family,
Yeah, it definitely, you're absolutely right. Like, not only do things change, but people have the right to change their mind, which is often a right that we don't realize.
Yeah.
We don't realize we have the right to change our minds, because once we've said something, then we don't want to change it, because then what will people think?
Yeah.
Right? Like, nobody's going to take me seriously as this when I was this whole time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a really tough one, but we want to give our kids that like perspective, like to be like, and right now, so let's talk about 8. Hey, how are you hear me and dad talk? How are you feeling? Like, what do you think? he might be like, I don't know, whatever. Like he literally could be totally aloof, or he could be like, I don't know. I mean, is like, are we gonna like run out of oxygen in the next like year? You know what I mean? Like literally he could come up with it. I don't know.
Well, water is a huge issue.
Yeah, or water, whatever, right? Pick something.
Right.
So he could have heard something and latched onto it. What we want to do is just know, are they ruminating on something? What's going on in there? And then also we want to just be like, man, it must be stressful to have heard that. I'm here to talk. Anytime you're feeling it's, sometimes I get stressed out too. I'm here to be with you when we're stressed. And our family is going to get through whatever's coming. Mom and dad, we're paying attention. We're reading the papers and we're doing what we need to do. We got you, buddy. That's what that looks like, right? It's the reassurance that like, hey, I know we sound like we might believe that like the whole world is going to end because of whichever thing we're worried about right now.
Sometimes I do think that.
It does feel like that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy for us to get into like a bad news rabbit hole. And we just sort of spin out and it gets really stressful. But what our kids need to know is that we are the lifeboat. We're in charge. We've got this under control. And that they are allowed to just be kids and they're allowed to hear things and ask like, hey, somebody said this thing, like, and I don't really know what I think about it. Somebody said they want to work at this company because of this thing, or they don't want to work at this company because of this other thing. What do you like? My friend quit her job at this fast food chain because of this, whatever. So it's like, when they come to you and they're mentioning that stuff, that's an opportunity to like learn more about where their thoughts are on that, versus to react the way that I might tend to, and sort of go off about how people think about things the wrong way. Right. So we want to allow our kids the space to like have a thought, work things out loud. Right. Because where they start doesn't always mean where they're going to land. And they have more insight and more objectivity and thoughts than we really give them credit for. We don't even think, so much more. It's wild. Yeah. Like, dude, these kids make me so much smarter. I'm just like, oh, you're right. Like, I didn't know that was an annoying thing that parents do. Telling me, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize to my kids when I get home.
Yeah. And pass that on to all my parent friends so they stop doing it.
Yeah.
So would you then suggest, and again, age appropriate, like, I'm probably going to be different with my 30-year-old than I am with my 18-year-old and my 8-year-old, right?
Totally.
But would you suggest like not being emotional in front of them, or is it okay for us to be emotional in front of them? And again, like maybe let's use 8. I know there's a lot of moms in here that have little kids. Maybe use 8 and then maybe talk about teens too, because I know there's a lot of teen moms. But what do you think about that? Like, how much of your own inner fear or your own inner emotion is appropriate to show?
That's a good question. I think it really depends on how we're showing it. Are we acting out emotion, right? Or are we expressing and experiencing emotion? Because those are different. So like if I'm angry, am I acting out that anger by yelling and by getting all heated and like getting all activated? Or am I expressing that by saying, those kinds of things make me really angry too? Am I sad because I'm like, just like so outside of my window of tolerance that I'm just like, I've lost it and I'm just like, I can't, right? Like, so we want to be able to explain to our kids, like, these feelings are the feelings that I feel about this thing. And it's okay to feel those feelings. And in order for them to not get too overwhelming, here's some things that I do. I try to maybe talk to my friends about it, or talk to your partner if you're married, or whoever you have, right? So you want to reach out for connection when you feel sad. You want to, I think it's okay, like, to cry. Like, we're humans, right? Like, we don't have to be robots. We have to be in control. And when I say in control, that means within our ourselves. We have to be in control of our nervous systems so that our children can feel fear and sadness and anger and whatever they feel, but they can do it safely. If we're not in control of our own nervous systems, that makes our children unsafe.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why this whole thing is stressing me out, because as we're all stressed out, none of our kids are safe. Like, none of our kids have a safe place to express and to just exist, because we're all freaking out. And a lot of the time, I don't know about you guys, I mean, but sometimes when my kids like want to talk to me about something and like ask me questions and like questions that stress me out that I don't know the answer to, I don't necessarily respond in the most healthy way.
Same.
I often say things like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. And then I feel really bad about it. So that'll be one way that I respond. Or I might say, or I might be like, I don't know. I'm in the middle of something right now. Like, I can't really think about that right now. But what I'm missing is an opportunity to my kids reaching out. They're basically, they're doing one of these, like, hey, help me, help me. I'm in the ocean. Toss me a ring here. Toss me that little hook thing that you like drag people out of the pool. Like, they're reaching out for help. They need something from you right then. They need your attunement. They need you to be like, oof, that's a question, isn't it? You know, I'm not sure. What do you think?
You don't have to have the answer. I mean, I've done both of those scenarios. And when I was doing the latter, hey, you know, I just really don't know, but I only know as much as you do. And boy, those conversations go so much better.
Yeah. My kids get mad at me and then storm off. And then I feel like an asshole. And then that's not helpful. Right. So then we're in this like spiral of like me feeling guilty for not being patient. And then now I'm like, I'm never going to get the chance to talk to my kid again. I missed that. Like, I blew it, you know, and it's like,
yeah.
Oof. Do I wish I could have had the patience to just recognize like, this is my child. So like when a kid approaches you about something, even when you're stressed out, when they approach you asking for something, they're looking for a lifeline. Now you can handle that by either slapping their hand away. Like, nah, man, figure it out. Like, I'm in the boat. I'm cool. Like, or you're pushing them under because you're trying to get in the boat. Right. Or you can be like, let me put down my oars. And I'm just going to like, okay, come in, sit in the boat with me. We're safe right now. Nothing's happening, you know, unless you're literally in the middle of like a heart surgery or something. No one's going to die on the table. We're just pause, do the thing, and then keep it moving. And if the kid is interrupting you on a phone call or like being rude, right? Or doing something they're not supposed to do, there's an okay space for that too. You could say like, you know, I really want to talk to you about this. I am on the phone right now. And so please respect the expectation that you let me finish my call, and then I'll come in and get you.
I like that because sometimes they don't put two and two together and they don't realize what you've got going on.
Yeah.
They're just kind of interested in what they've got going on.
Totally. And so I'm not saying like, just let your kids do whatever and whenever, and you're just like at their beck and call. No, but there's a handle it way, and there's a like stressed out, lose it way. And when the world is hard and scary for grownups, then a lot of times we handle it in a just we lose it way. And we try to sort of push off our kids, especially the ones that are, I don't know, easier. Who has more than one kid? Who has easier kids and harder kids? Like everybody, right? So we often sort of like people say like, don't wake a sleeping baby, right? That's true. But we sort of carry that into like, don't engage with just like a quiet kid.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Leave them alone.
Let him be.
Fine. Right. And there's, to an extent, I get that, right? Like, I mean, I get it to a whole extent, but like, I accept that that's okay to do. Right. But we want to at least like a handful of times, want to make sure we check in with the quiet kids.
Yeah.
How are you? What's going on? What are you thinking about? What's the latest? They're going to be really annoyed by you.
Of course.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
My kids, like, they die. I can't. I'm like, they legitimately think I'm the worst.
Oh.
And I'm like, it's cool though, because I'm like, what's the haps, Tell me the deets, like what's going on. And they're just like, you're literally the worst. Like, they're like, I'm throwing up in my mouth. But I spent a lot of time not really in my own window of tolerance. So that's why it's particularly difficult for me, I think, because I see a lot of myself in some of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of myself in them as children. And I see a lot of myself in me as the parent of children who need help.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of time not realizing how much it meant to just answer their question.
Yeah.
And ask them how they're doing. And just like, if they say like, hey, we should go out to dinner as a family more often. Go out to dinner as a family more often.
Yeah.
Like, just do that.
I agree. I'm always so fearful. And I think, so mom guilt is real.
So real.
And when I'm having those moments where I'm like on the phone and I have 15 other clients I have to get to and whatever, and he's asking me questions and I'm kind of like, dude, not now, later,
Yeah.
I feel like I only have so many times I can do that
before
he just doesn't knock at the door anymore.
Yeah. That's a true statement. Yeah. They'll stop.
Yeah. Because if you're just getting bit, or if you're not getting the energy feed that you're going for, you're going to go elsewhere. Right. And that's what scares me, is where is elsewhere? What is elsewhere?
Yeah. It's either a deep retreat into themselves or a total rabbit hole of whatever else there is out there. But you're right. And the other thing is, like, we don't have to do this well every single time. We are humans with nervous, like, we are individual people as moms. Like I said, like, biologically, our existence is a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can we not save them, but save them? Like, it's a lot. And so our innate sort of instinct, we have survival instincts, right? Just like any animal. And our children are extensions of us. And so when our children are in danger, we think, well, I'm in danger, right? Because my child is in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is, now that we think we are in danger, our own instinct takes over and says, oh, I'm in danger. That's the thing that's making me in danger. I'm going to defend against the child. So we literally defend ourselves against our own child because we're misinterpreting their danger for our danger.
Interesting. I bet a lot of parents deal with that.
That for a second.
That's deep. That one.
That's what we go through as moms.
Mm-hmm.
This is before we even consciously are aware of what's happening. This is just biology. This isn't about being a good mom, doing a good job. This is about being a human that has decided to mother this child. Is that we have now intertwined our nervous systems to a degree that I am responsible to keep this child physically and emotionally safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they're activated, that sends signals to me that says, hey, mom, get on it. But then my activation activates my own survival system.
Mm-hmm. Which, and I know we're not animals, but I think it's interesting. And I know we don't do this. Yeah, maybe sometimes. But in the animal kingdom, like, for instance, quick little story. I have a lot of baby bunnies in my backyard. And because I have bunnies in my backyard, and you've heard this one, I have a lot of baby bunnies in my backyard. You look out there, okay? Let's just face it. You look out there, there's 5 bunnies. Next day, there's 10 bunnies. Next day, there's 15 bunnies.
I love bunnies. Is this going to make me sad?
It might. So, we had this little baby bunny in our backyard for a couple days, and their mom and dad weren't around that we could see. Like, there are a few adult ones that would come in, but they weren't helping him. They were just leaving him. And I saw him one night. I was letting my dog out. It was super late, and he was like crouched by my barbecue grill. And I was thinking to myself, oh, buddy, coyotes are out. You could hear him. And I'm like, oh, you're going to be lunch. So I tried to catch him, and I didn't think I was going to be successful, but I caught him.
Oh my gosh.
With my hands. And he was just a little tiny little weeny thing. And I put him in a box, and I just gave him some lettuce and some water. And in the morning I went out and he was little. So I went out and I called the bunny rescue. I don't want people out there getting all crazy thinking I'm keeping wild animals. I wasn't going to, but I called the bunny rescue. And meanwhile, I went to get him some formula. Like, I read up on it, and you could feed him kitten formula. And so I ran out and I got some kitten formula, and I came back and I mixed it up, and I tried to feed him with a little bottle, and he passed away pretty much 20 minutes after I got the formula and stuff. And I was reading up on it, and I have a bunny. I didn't have one then, but I would ask the vet about it because I was at the bunny vet the other day, and the parents, something could have happened to them, obviously, but he was sick. Clearly he was slow. He let me catch him. He obviously passed within 24 hours of me doing that. They abandon their children. If their children's going to cause them danger, they abandon them.
Whoa.
I know. And again, I know we're not animals, but I wonder, is there some sort of biology instinctive sort of thing in there?
What's interesting about that is that but the opposite. So attachment, and I've mentioned attachment before. I feel like I have I say the same shit all the time because it's always everything. Anyway.
Well, it's of everything.
It's just that. So attachment is, I actually thought what was going to happen is that the bunny died because he was abandoned.
Yeah, he was sick.
Is what a human baby would do.
Yes.
So human babies need caregivers. They have to have that or they will die, right? Because we can't feed ourselves. We're babies. Babies are little things. They can't, whatever.
They're succulents.
So yeah, they need a lot of help to propagate. So when a human baby doesn't have a connection with a caregiver, it will systematically shut down. So we've all heard about babies who, are in, I don't even know if this is the term that is used anymore, but I don't know what else it would be called, but an orphanage or something.
Yeah.
Where babies are little, even though they're getting the right amount of food, they're getting the right amount of nutrients, but they're not growing. They're not getting bigger. They're not going to make it. Sometimes, and they die.
Yeah.
Because they are alone. If we take that into, as children, that reach, every time I get my hand slapped away, that's I'm going to die. So when we have chronic misattunement with our kids, and this is going into an extreme level, but when we have chronic misattunement, chronic neglect, or even abuse, then that's what shuts us down inside, because we're we don't have, the more times we ask for help and help doesn't come, that's where we get our deepest levels of despair.
Mm-hmm.
And so as adults, when we experience fear of losing a loved one, a partner, right? Adult attachment isn't exactly the same, but it fundamentally operates in a similar way. We have to have a partner or a person. We can't be alone. We don't have to have like a one-to-one partner necessarily, because there's more than one of us. We're not repopulating the world.
Right.
However, our brain and our body believe that we need to have someone, because if we didn't, like, there wouldn't be more of us.
Right. Right.
So as an adult, it becomes a little bit different than as a child, but it's a similar thread, right? So when our kids are reaching out to us for help, and we are also fearing ourselves that like the world is on fire, that's sort of activating some of those same instincts. Like, what are we going to do? Like, there's no one leading, like we're alone. We're distant from each other. We're not a community, like the separateness, the fighting, like that's all really activating for us. We're like, what are we going to do? Like we have to, and so that really activates some of those same fears, which makes us really reject the idea that we're going to be responsible for somebody else, because we're like, well, I need help too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So like it sort of intertwines in a really unhelpful way when it comes to like what we can offer our kids. And so that's why we don't have to know the answers. We don't have to even feel good about it. We don't want to slap them away. We want to let them ask, let them share, let them talk, let them exist, let them be who they are, so that they can learn how to stabilize, do their own research, run for office, and do whatever they need to do to help their own generation.
Exactly. And I feel like they are not getting that sort of that energetic connection, or, physical and plus energetic and everything. They're going to find it somewhere if they're not getting it from you. Right. And so they're going to find it somewhere, or they're not. And we have a whole different ballgame on our hands. And what are typical things that they'll seek out? Maybe getting into substance abuse. We see a lot of that. I don't have to tell you guys, there's a huge problem in this country with that. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's so sad to me to see people's babies that are, whether they be grown-up babies or teenage babies or whatever, that are just suffering through this. And, who knows what reasons people fall into that, but I think this is a big reason. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, I would. I mean, we just need to feel loved, connected with, we need to feel cared for. And when we don't, that despair, that pain, that's next to death. So we've got to figure out a way to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we either turn to that, we self-medicate, or we self-harm, or we, find people that are that are dangerous for us because they make us feel okay about ourselves.
And if you're a kid, you might not put all the pieces together that these people are dangerous.
No.
Right? Because they're going to serve it to you in a way that you're ready to listen.
Yeah. And so no matter how stressed out we are, we need to be able to contain that for them, contain our own stuff, so that we can stay afloat and be the lifeboat, so that our kids can come to us and help will come. The most damaging thing in a child's life is to ask for help and have help not come.
Not get it. Yeah.
That is the single most damaging thing that can happen. And it's so tough when we feel like we're not getting the help that we need either. And so it's just been a tough one.
Yeah. And, another thing I wanted to kind of dive into, just based on something you mentioned just a few minutes ago. Oh my gosh. We've been talking for 45 minutes.
I just saw that too.
I thought it was like 4:17. I love talking to you so much. So I guess our last topic of the day, there's obviously a lot of tension in the world. There's obviously a lot of differences in opinion. There's lots and lots and lots of stuff. Why in the world, and maybe this is not something you can answer, but why in the world are people so darn mean to each other? And we don't have to agree with one another. We don't have to accept somebody's lifestyle or what they do or what they think and how they feel or how they choose to dress or whatever it is, right? Why do we have to be so darn mean? And what are we teaching our kids?
Ugh. I don't know about what we're teaching our kids, other than I think just that's how we do things. I mean, it's sort of just like modeling behavior in the simplest form. Why are we mean? So sometimes being mean is a way to make ourselves feel better, based on the false belief that being angry on the outside is going to settle our stuff on the inside.
Never does
at all. But that's a pretty easy go-to, right? Because anger is a lot easier to feel than fear and pain. Anger is a secondary emotion. It's a reaction, right? So like anger is a reaction to embarrassment, to fear, to failure, to just any kind of deep pain. We're like anger because that's easier.
Well, and is there more like confidence and more power in that?
Yeah, it's a seeking for power.
Right. Okay.
It's like, I will feel powerful now because that is better than feeling like shit.
Right. And
I feel like shit.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't have any control. So it's like, it's as if that's somehow it's a reaction. I need to control something that I can't control. And so maybe if I yell at enough people on the internet, then I will change the whole world and they will see. But it's like, no, 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 you won't. And the best thing to do is check inside yourself. And what do you really need? What's really going on? What are you really feeling? Is it fear? Is it pain? Is it betrayal? Is it something? I don't know, whatever. And then work through that.
Because more than likely it is. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm real sorry, but happy people that are feeling safe, they don't because they don't either think about that or they don't care. It's like drama. It's like oil and water, right? Like, keep me away from the drama because I'm a happy person and I'm happy with my life and, things are going the way I wish for them to go. And, or even if they're not, I'm still okay with it. Right?
I'm okay. Right. Yeah. Like, I love that, what you said, happy people, or even just okay people, like stable people, okay people don't attack or hurt other people.
Right.
Because it is unnecessary.
There's no win in it.
There's no win in it. And so behaviors are a reaction, are a way to survive in your surroundings. That's true for children and that's true for adults. When the need is met, whatever it is that's hurt or afraid, once that's addressed and soothed, the behavior won't be necessary anymore. So if I'm a person who can calm myself, if I can find an inner calm, that doesn't mean I'm letting people get away with whatever.
Right.
I'm not just giving everyone a pass, but it's also not my responsibility to hold Twitter users accountable for their thoughts. Right. Like, that's just not my job. So I'm not going to do that job. That's somebody else's job. it's really no one's job except for Twitter, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't need to control that because I can control myself. And so I don't need to do that behavior. But before I knew how to control myself, I would do behaviors that were not helpful, not healthy, and probably hurtful to others. That's just the truth. Hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so like cliche or whatever, but it's like the most true thing ever.
It's so true. When I see attacks and I see little fights break out over people just having a difference in opinion, I'm like, man, you all just need to go sit down and have a beer with each other or something and just like kumbaya it up and chill. Cause it's silly to me. It really, truly is silly to me. And it's like, so we're perpetuating this. And really, honestly, if anybody wants to fix anything, like we got to come together. We got to be supportive of each other. We got to have an understanding of each other. And, you know, I actually appreciate that people have differences in opinion. A lot of my friends think different than I do. They have, you know, they wear different clothes. They have different lifestyles. They feel different politically, whatever. Like a lot of my friends do. And you know what? It never gets in the way of things for us. Yeah. And I appreciate that because I appreciate the different perspective. Maybe I wouldn't have thought about that, Laura, if you didn't share your difference of opinion or information that you had that I don't have. Sure. And quite honestly, like I'm at this point, there was a time in my life where I wasn't, but at this point, like I'm okay being incorrect too.
Sure.
So if I whip out a fact or something and it's not accurate and someone's like, you know, that's not accurate, like, I'm not gonna get all butthurt. Thank you for correcting me and educating me because I can appreciate continuing to learn things the older I get.
Yeah. I think it's really hard. We don't have a lot of control right now. I think a lot of us feel really passionate about certain things and we don't feel like we have a lot of power to make a difference. And I think that that's a really tough position to be in as people. And it's also really activating to listen to someone who believes something like that you passionately disagree with. Like it's very difficult to keep your cool. That is not an easy thing to do. And so we have to be respectful of our own limits, right? Like if something is like, I read stuff sometimes online and then I like literally will say out loud, like, ew.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why am I like scrolling further through the comments to like watch what people are saying? Like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. Like, it's literally a form of like self-harm. I feel like I'm like, why am I doing this?
Totally agree. Stop.
It's not okay to do.
Because if you walked into the kitchen right now and the burner on your stove was on and you touched it and it burned you and it was hot, you would stop touching it, right?
Yeah.
Like same deal.
Agree, theoretically, right?
Stop touching the friggin' burner, people.
Yeah. We need to stop.
Pissing yourself off.
We need to stop. Yeah. And we need to know when it's enough. And also like give ourselves the space. Like we over access things that are triggering because we reenact. We've talked about the feedback loop a little bit, and our brains are designed and wired to sort of solve unsolved experiences, process unprocessed experiences, which are most of the time traumatic experiences, or like high stress, right? Trauma doesn't always have a capital T. Right. Sometimes it's just like adversity, right? And it just doesn't get all the way processed because you're overwhelmed. So like, that's just how it works. So our brain is always going to try to like rework that. Like anytime you learned a lesson that you say out loud, I'm never going to let that's never going to happen to me again. You've had yourself a trauma. You've had yourself, that's an open feedback loop. Mm-hmm. Because your brain is now, every single thing that you have inside of you is going, never going to let that happen again. Never going to let that happen again. And so when we are all in this environment, this is what we're all doing. The whole world right now is just operating on, I'm never going to let that happen. I'm never, I need control. Like they're not going to get away with this. Like I'm going to stand up for me and I'm not going to be this and I'm going to be, like I'm not gonna like, there's just so much right now that's like, we're all just activated and sort of like going after, like trying to right a wrong against ourselves by reacting to things that are not happening necessarily to us directly in this moment, not 5 seconds from now, not 5 seconds ago, but like literally right now. None of that is happening while I'm like reading this post. So I need to back off and recognize that I'm safe and I'm in control right now. And then my brain won't need to do that thing anymore. My brain won't need to do that process, that strategy anymore, that open loop.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes and probably a lot, we operate on like kind of an autopilot and we don't really know what's going on necessarily. Like real quick example, when I'm really super busy at work, I'm like stressed about that. And geez, I wish I could have more time to myself and whatever. And then because it's cyclical, it happens. Then I'm a little less busy at work. And now all of a sudden I have that time that I was wanting and I'm a little less stressed, but I'm in that habit of that high stress. And so I have legit caught myself, I got to go back to work. You know what I mean? Instead of just sitting back and taking the darn break that I had. So I feel like, especially over the last coming up on 3 years now, really, I mean, we've been dealing with so much crap. Are we in that state of autopilot, constant stress? Yeah. And if there's now a break in that, and I see a post that fires me up, like, here I am again, you know?
It's hypervigilance.
Okay. Yes,
yeah, absolutely. We don't know how to calm down. We're not used to it. It's not culturally the way we teach ourselves to be. First of all, do more, accomplish more. Yep. Who feels good about sitting on the couch and watching TV?
Not one.
Because I'm not being productive. I'm not doing something. I'm not getting. However, our body, what you're doing is you're productively allowing your cells to do their stuff and let your body process things like, you know, nutrients and emotions and whatever. But we don't think like that. That's just not how we're trained, right? So most of us have a very difficult time letting go. Also, what happens when we stop working is we start thinking about all the things that are inside here that cause us distress and that we've been avoiding all this time by working so much, right? Because like, I don't know if you're like me, but I use work as a coping skill. I don't, right? Who's guilty? We all have sort of our coping mechanisms, and overworking is definitely one of them for a lot of us, because it's like, if I'm working, I'm doing something I feel good about, I'm doing something healthy, I'm productive, I'm distracted, and I'm not feeling my feelings. And that's much better than the alternative.
I think distraction was probably the word that lit the most up for me when you were saying that.
Yeah.
Is we're distracting.
Yeah.
Well, it's 4:56.
Okay.
And I love that we talked about this today because it is so relevant. It's happening now. I love that you brought it up. I love that you shared that it's something that's, you know, you've been kind of seeing here over and over again. I think it was super important. I hope all of you mamas have really enjoyed this. We will get to our next topic maybe next time, or maybe we won't
do this again.
We will be, hey Casey, we will be here next month, same time, same place, 4:00 on the last Wednesday of the month. We will be talking through another topic with the lovely, what do I call you? I can't call you Dr. Laura.
No, I'm not a doctor.
Certified counselor Laura.
Technically, I guess you could say that. Just Laura will do also. Yeah. Just Laura, you know.
Awesome. Well, you guys can always catch us here, like I said, once a month, last Wednesday, live at 4:00, or you can catch the replay. It will be in the group in the featured section for, well, until next month when we replace it with another video. Also, if you hop on over to YouTube, you can check out our playlist. Laura and I have now. This is our 6th one.
I know, it's so exciting.
It is exciting and always just such great topics. I love talking to you. I love talking through this stuff. I know it's really affecting, the things that we talk about really affect a lot of our audience. So hopefully you guys love it. Our handle on YouTube is MOMnation USA. Head on over there. You will see the mental wealth playlist. You can share that. You can check out all of our past episodes and all of our other stuff there too.
Yeah.
All right, friend.
And yeah, you can find me. I actually embedded the playlist on my website, www.benaviri.com, BENAVIERI.com. That's how you can find me. And that's pretty much my handle on all the socials. So yeah, I really am. I love this too. I'm grateful. And I just hope that hopefully people feel related to and also feel like, oh, okay, maybe I can shift my focus and it can make my life a little bit easier,
Yeah. I feel like the more we know, the more we learn, the more we grow together, the more we share, the more what I love about us is that we share our personal experiences and we're pretty raw about it. And I feel like that's really helpful to others out there that are like, wow, me too,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right. I love you. Thank you, friend.
Love you more.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.